Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. Now, if you've been trying to make one of those Pinterest-worthy food boards, but every time you try it just doesn't quite look right, then this is the video for you because I'm going to be giving you lots of different tips on how to make it look good and also giving you some guidance on what food items to pick. So firstly, I'm always looking for convenience, so I actually made that strawberry compote a long time ago, forgot about it, tossed it in my freezer, and now I'm going to utilize it for the filling for the macarons. Now, I've made macarons a lot on my channel. I will link down in the description box below a macaron recipe that is very close to the recipe that I use, and primarily I'm going to be showing you how I fill it. So today I'm going to be using French buttercream. Now, the reason I use French buttercream a lot with macarons is specifically because I have a lot of egg yolks left over making the macaron shells, and if you want to know how to make French buttercream, I do it right up here in the right hand corner. Making a cohesive board relies on more than just the way that it looks. You also want to make sure that you're putting items on that are convenient for you to and do not waste. So the reason that I made meringue cookies is because I could make a larger batch of meringue when making my macaron cookies, and then that way I have two separate desserts, but I didn't have to do double the work. Meringues hold up pretty well on a board as long as you make sure that you store them properly. So I always use my little trick where I put a piece of paper towel with cornstarch on the bottom and then place the meringues in to keep them nice and crisp. Then I take them out at the last minute before I actually put the entire board together. I also wanted to show you the specific order in which I do things. So obviously the macarons take the longest, so I made those shells first, and now I'm making the filling for them while I package all of those meringues away. Even if you don't want to make your macarons from scratch, they're just a really nice addition to any board because it really brightens it up and makes it look really pretty, and if you're going for a color theme, it is the perfect choice. You can check out how I make fruit compote in the upper right hand corner. Today I'm going to be using the Sultan tip. Now I know a lot of people have struggled with using this in past, and it does take a little bit of finesse. You've got to squeeze, and then notice how I kind of twisted that as well, just so that you make sure the frosting does not come off completely, because that can happen. And of course, make sure that you stop squeezing once you actually want to release. And then I'm going to fill this up with my strawberry compote. Now, the reason that I love that Sultan tip is because I can get so much more filling in there, and it is very, very secure. And when you place the top shell back on top of the macaron, don't press too hard because you don't want all of that frosting squeezing out. I like to keep the centers really nice and puffy. Some people also find that the buttercream that they're using is too soft for the Sultan tip, so I highly recommend that you use something a little bit firmer like a French buttercream or an Italian meringue buttercream. These both have really high butter contents, so just make sure that the shape is well maintained. Now, if you don't want to be in a panic like I was, make your macarons in advance and you can store them for up to 3 months in the freezer and they will taste just as good as when you made them. Let's get into the food that really you don't have to be an expert baker to put together. It's summer right now, so putting something refreshing on the board was a must. Now, I'm put down a bunch of wax paper. You can also use parchment paper, but I find wax paper stands up better to things that are wet. I also like using these little clear plastic trays. I have a bunch of clear plastic things that I bought from a party store a while ago. It's relatively cheap, but what I like is that you can move things around very easily and it protects food from other food. Like, I don't really want the meat touching the fruit necessarily. One thing I also think about is that I don't want people having to touch several food items just to get the one thing that they want. So I roll all of the meats just to make it easy and so that they're not actually having to separate the slices themselves. The reason I chose Pocky was because it adds some different levels to my board. I also chose this beet hummus. Now, I was doing this for a colored picnic, so we had to choose one color and make our board that color. So I tried to think really, really hard about all of the pink-ish foods that I could find. Technically, mine was more like pinks and reds. I tried to hit all of the textures on the board, so we've got that crunchy element, we've got that juicy element, we've also got our protein in there, and of course we need to add on our beautiful macarons. I add these on at the last moment. I do freeze them, especially if I know that I'm going to be outside, because I can freeze them and then it just gives it a little bit more leeway time. The buttercream stands up pretty well to the heat, but when it's really, really hot, it's just a good idea to freeze them. I also put those meringues out closest to the macarons because I know that they're not going to get soggy next to those. I find sometimes when boards don't look visually appealing, it's because things look a little too sparse. When you see a really impressive charcuterie board or food board, everything always looks nice and tightly packed together. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!